the fourth week of their season, and we'll dig into some of the quarterback situations as I mentioned earlier. There's a NBA star, superstar, future Hall of Famer that is back in the news with some comments. So I'm certain we'll touch on that as well. And even though
Okay.
today's Wednesday, we have a quarterback, a coach with the last name is Saturday that did well on Sunday. So we're getting all that stuff, man. All right,
All
man.
right.
As Pastor Troy, are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Michael Buffer.
We ready.
Okay.
We ready. That's probably enough right there. Don't
All
want to
right.
scare the viewers off.
All right, man. Sports Brothers. Here we go.
All right.
We're back. Zach.
Yes, we are.
We're also going to talk about Dak. Believe that. All right. Before we get rolling, do the following, please.
Favorite part of the show for
It
Mr.
surely,
411.
certainly is. We thank Blackjack TV for the simulcast. If you're not able to catch us on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, you can catch us on blackjacktv.net. That is www.blackjacktv.net. We appreciate the Jack.
Yes, we do.
Yep. And everybody, as we just played the hit that notification button, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. Look how much it would cost you to do that to support the Sports Brothers. Look at that tab. It's zero.
That's
Oh,
expensive.
there you go. So just a tad bit of effort on your part. If you can do any of these things for us, we greatly appreciate it.
Yes, we will. And we
And look at-
appreciate everything that everyone is doing now also. Show is growing by leaps and bounds.
Absolutely, Zach. Okay, man. We're gonna jump into the National Football League, and we also gonna go into some detail. So, ladies and gentlemen, we won't hammer out every single matchup because we're certain that you all have watched a lot of the games and got some of the highlights in and stuff. But we will. Um, we're gonna stop with a hard stop at the Vikings and Bills game, but right now we're just gonna tackle some of the league and some of the action. So get ready for this. All right, we'll get the scores up. Producers are working on that now. Boom, there it is. Week 10 results are right there. So you can see last Thursday, the Falcons and the Panthers, they had a um, interesting game, if you will, but there was a lot of other matchups there. My Seahawks fell to Tampa Bay. With that said, Tom Brady, uh, first quarterback to win in several countries. I think he leads the NFL and wins in different countries, and so Tom Brady is still getting it done on that end with the wins and the losses. But that division is definitely a little shaky. Um, let's see what else is going on there, Zach. The Chiefs, they continue to win. There was a that was good there. The Dolphins. If you want to stop there for just a second, I know you like Tyreek Evans. You want to give your little bit of a little take on the Dolphins?
Oh, well, as a whole, I think this game was probably less about the Dolphins and maybe more about Cleveland's ineptitude on offense. Like Brissett is a nice quarterback, but he's not someone that's going to get you to the promised land like you would like to. So they're really uh it's unfortunate, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on Deshaun Watson when he gets back to elevate the offense. And I'm not sure that after 2+ years of not playing football that that he'll be able to do that. And probably what it is, he gets back game 11. He'll get 6 games. In theory, this might end up being just 6 games for him to kind of knock off the rust, get familiar with the offense, so that when they go into next year, uh, they'll be ready to go. Because Nick Chubb is outstanding. Uh, for the most part, their defense plays pretty good. They just don't get enough. They just don't get enough out of the offense, and add to the fact that they have 2 or 3 games they dropped early in the season. Uh, I guess if I was going to point out a one thing about the Dolphins, outside of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, adding Jeff Wilson, I wouldn't have thought that a guy that couldn't get any time in San Francisco, and they hurried up and got him out the door after they got McCaffrey. Like, he wasn't getting any carries in San Francisco. He has had 2 monster games back to back. If the Dolphins can play like this, and really I'd say if they can run like this, well, look, I was gonna say they'd have a hard time winning in Buffalo, but I forgot they're lead the division now. So if they can keep this division lead, you get a home game here. Maybe if they can mess around, get the second seed, you get, say, a couple of home games, and you only got to go to Kansas City instead of Buffalo. They might have a chance with being able to run the ball, because you have to, as I said, Tyreek Hill causes some specific matchups. Maybe that's why Wilson is having such a breakout time in Miami. But they are, at least that part, very impressive. And if you keep Tua upright, it seems they can put points on the board.
Yeah, that division is wide open. I think maybe a game and a half separates all 4 teams right now. There's a couple divisional matchups coming up. I think the Jets and Patriots will go at it. So there'll be a lot of shifting going on, a lot of jockeying for position. Looking good over there with Buffalo, and we'll get with them later. But basically, it's jammed up in that division. So keep an eye on that AFC East division.
Yes.
All right, keep an eye on that division.
And we just did a breakdown, I think, last week. I don't think any of us would have been thinking this week that Buffalo would not be at the top of the division and have a chance to not win the division. But I think that's a reality, because they don't have any AFC East wins yet.
Right. Yeah, that's the irony of most of this, is that most of their losses are within the division. But, speaking of the East, in the NFC East, I saw a lot of text messages going on within my family members from the Philadelphia area, and they were expressing their displeasure with their Eagles falling short, finally getting an L this season. And so that puts them at 8-1. They lost to a division foe, the Washington Commanders. Getting used to saying Commanders, but the Washington Commanders took command of that game. What I saw from that game was that they pretty much bled the clock by running the ball. They shortened the game. They played that style of football and to give themselves a chance at the end. And I think you touched on this in one of our production meetings the previous week against Houston, when Philadelphia was at Houston, and Houston ran the ball pretty well. So wonder if that was something that the Commanders were looking at. What'd you think about that one?
It's possible. I guess, as always, what we have to keep in mind, this isn't like Georgia playing Middle Tennessee State or anything. Like, we like to think of it, but maybe outside of the quarterback position, there aren't really typically that big of talent disparages. I'm killing the word right now, but it's not that big of a gap between the talent.
There you go.
From
There you go. Translation.
Yes.
There you go.
Disparaging. But
there you go.
But they're a professional football team. They don't have Chase Young, but we kind of last year thought the Washington Commanders had a really good defensive line, and it looks like their defensive line gave the Eagles some trouble, which would be the expectation from the Commanders. And I think too, what we're seeing with these teams that aren't as talented at the quarterback position is they keep things simple. They try to, let's just run the ball. Let's do some basic kind of pass plays, not try to throw the ball 40, 50 times. And like you said, Washington really tried to, they just tried to bleed the clock like somebody used to do back in Madden with the day, and shorten the game. But when you do that, the good thing about it, like, people, I don't understand, like, well, you're just doing this just to do it or whatever. But if you do that, when the Eagles turn over the ball like they did, And I know some of like one of the turnovers most definitely when the dude got face masks. That's a tough one. It shouldn't have been there. But when you turn it over and the game is getting short, now you have less opportunities to get points up on the board. And this is kind of where I wasn't all in with everybody saying Jalen Hurts for MVP, because just because you have a 0 behind your record or whatever, or you're on the best team with the best record, the Eagles aren't a quarterback centric team. They're a team built with all phases and all sides of the ball trying to contribute to the win. This would have been a game when Jalen Hurts could have, show us you're the MVP by going down, getting points. And that didn't happen. But at the end of the day, it's only one game. Like, they not the 72 Dolphins, and they probably not the 85 Bears. So they probably going to lose another game just because that's how it happens in the NFL. But I think if they go 14-3, 15-2, all Eagle fans would have taken that coming into the season.
Absolutely. All right. I mentioned Saturday on Sunday, and let's listen to a couple comments here about the coach of the Colts.
And quite honestly, it's so disrespectful to every single coach that has actually been in this league. I had a guy named Mike Westhoff who coached for like 40 years in the National Football League, was never given a head coaching opportunity. There's a million great coaches were never given this opportunity. I look at the coaches on his staff. What message are you sending them? Like, oh, by the way, you're going to get fired. It's as simple as that. Because if you don't think somebody is more qualified to do the job as a head coach on that staff than bringing a guy in pretty much off the street with no experience, I mean, you're sadly mistaken.
Guys, I played in the National Football League for 5 years. I went on to become an assistant coach right from playing to coaching. I was assistant coach for 7 years. Blessed to be able to go to Pittsburgh and be a head coach at the age of 34 for 15 years. I'm speaking on behalf of the coaching profession. I know for a fact that Jeff Saturday was offered an opportunity to become an assistant coach with.
There you go. So at the end of that, Bill Cowher said basically that, just paraphrasing, they was slapping the face for Jeff Saturday to get that head coaching job at NFL. Even though he turned down a previous opportunity to kind of be amongst the staff for personal reasons or time. And then he turns around later on and takes the job. So first, Zach, I'd like for you to comment on that, because you actually been on the gridiron and seen coaches up close and personal at the collegiate and at the high school and other levels as well. And so I want to get your thoughts on that. And then your thoughts on the victory that Jeff Saturday ended up having against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, I think first, both of those guys, I'm going to guess they didn't play in the NFL. My guess is.
Well, Cowher did. Cowher did.
Cowher played in the NFL?
Yeah, he played briefly. Yep.
Briefly, got you. Because they sound like guys that's trying to protect the coaching fraternity. Like that, we don't want someone that's a player to come out and then be a coach, because he skips all the steps to, get to the top. You need to be able to, you got to start here. You need to be a scout, kind of like Erica Spoelstra for the Miami Heat. Like he started as a video coordinator or something.
Yeah, video coordinator.
Then he went to something else. Then he went to something else. And then finally he got himself in a position to be the head coach. But we know this path isn't the same for everybody. And I kind of, isn't this maybe usually what we get a lot of times when it's like, but think about it. When minorities come in, we don't need this woman, she can't do such and such, such and such. She needs to do this, do this, do this. And then finally you let one of them get in and they are successful. Hey, no different than with people that look like you and I. We're told a lot of times like, hey, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden you give somebody that looks like you and I opportunity and they're successful. Now, I don't think Jeff Saturday is going to be the norm of how you should do everything. But some of it is like with a head coach. I get with a head coach, you might need to know the X's and O's and all this stuff. But think about it. To a degree, if you're the head coach, you don't do the calling the plays if it's normal, it's going to be your offensive coordinator. The running the defense, if it's normal, is going to be your defensive coordinator. So Saturday, I mean, what more does he have to do than tell the coach, hey, I want to run left. I want to run right. Hey, on third down, we're going to do such and such, such. Be ready to go for it on fourth down. Have 2 plays called or something. And he's bringing leadership. Now, it could just be the ineptitude of the Raiders, and that would tell you a lot about them. But it's not. I think each kind of case is different. Whatever Saturday brought, Jonathan Taylor looked like Jonathan Taylor, didn't he? I'm sure some people in fantasy are happy that Jonathan Taylor looked like Jonathan Taylor, because Jonathan Taylor ain't looked like that all year. And he put Matt Ryan back in there for whatever reason. Like, I don't know why you would take Matt Ryan out and put Sam Ellinger in, but maybe he just brought some stability or being an adult into the room that you don't get sometimes. And it is difficult, and it's kind of, I hate to say it's kind of comical or funny, but it is, and I know it was more than just them, but it's nice to see 2 white guys talking about unfairness in the coaching ranks. Like, understand, like, gotcha, it's unfair. This is how things work or whatever. And Saturday, my grandfather used to say it all the time. You may have heard this, but it's not what you know, is who you know. And Irsay brought him in for whatever reason. Like, it could be something wrong with those coaches on the coaching staff. And I kind of always feel like this too. You fire the head coach and then they say put the assistant or one of the assistants in charge. Well, hell, if they had the answers, why wasn't they in charge from the beginning? But we'll see how this plays out. Now, if they mess around and say beat the Eagles or competitive with the Eagles, and what is it? What did he have? 7, 8 games left, or how many? Say they mess around, and I don't know. Let's say go 5-2, 4-3, something of that nature. Maybe you should be concerned because he might get the head coaching gig. But do you think they're gonna win more than 1 or 2 games? Like, he's gonna do this or whatever, and I would assume be exposed, and all of them are getting fired. Would be my guess. But it was a good first step of pretty simple football. We're going to hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor. I think I could have did that last week, dear Mr. 401, to say, let's hand it to him left, hand it to him right.
All right. Okay, there you go. I'm thawed out now. But yeah, I heard every word that you said there, Zach. Yeah, I think we, had a little technical things going on, but I'm still here standing. And a lot of points you made about Saturday makes total sense. It happens in a lot of professions. It happens in the basketball officiating profession. A lot of time is who you know, and some people get certain breaks that others don't. And and I use this for example too. Professional wrestling, right? There's people who wrestle in what they call the indies. They wrestle at the local high school gyms in front of like 20 to 30 people, work their way up and eventually make it to the WWE, and then wrestle in front of 80,000 people, right? But they started from the bottom. They drive from one town to the next. They fix the ring up. They take the ring down. They do all the grunt work, all those things, and finally get there. And then you have somebody, for example, like Jake Paul, right? Or Logan Paul, excuse me. Well, actually Jake too, because he was in the match too. But then he's in the main event wrestling for a championship, right? For the world championship. And only in his 3rd match. You know what I mean? So but he has, he has a couple million followers, you know what I'm saying? So that was part of why he was there, you know what I'm saying, to get more eyes on the product. So if you think about it like that, hey, the Colts have a relationship with Saturday. He was a great center for that team, offensive lineman, and has history with that team, had tabs with them. And again, I do think obviously the owner liked him. So it's who goes back to that. But also it doesn't, when you just put him in that position, it didn't disturb all the other positions. Everybody else is basically status quo. You have all your coordinators where they need to be, all your coaching staff. So really, as you said, you're just putting in a figurehead for now. And guess what? There's nothing to lose from doing it anyway. They was already losing. So if he comes in, they keep losing. That
I
just
mean,
buys more time to figure out who your coach going to be in the future.
In fact, my guess is Irsay is probably not happy that they won. This was probably a setup so you could get to the top of the draft.
Right.
And then he's like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, that leads me to this. Oh, well, go ahead, Zach. Finish your thoughts.
And I was going to say, and do we think that was probably the first call that Irsay made to see if a former player wanted to be head coach? Or do you think he probably asked someone else and that person said no? Because they have a certain quarterback that was in Indianapolis. My guess is that might have been the first call.
Interesting. That would have been nice to see if number 18 would have been back there as a head coach, and maybe in the future. But at the same time, with Saturday, he played at the highest of levels. So It's not like he hasn't been around great coaching, hasn't seen how coaches work on day-to-day game plan and all that. So it's not like he just, it's like calling me up, saying, hey, go coach the team. He's actually calling somebody who's been in the NFL and has done it and been around the highest of levels of the different positions there as far as coaching and playing. So, yeah, it's interesting. I understand some backlash or, some coaches are going to speak out, former coaches, but at the end of the day, it's not their team. And so the owner of the team is calling the shots.
As I would just kind of, once again, if you look like Bill Cowher and you look like old boy Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan, yeah.
You probably shouldn't be talking about unfair coaching practices.
Interesting.
It's probably a little hypocritical. Let's just say.
Yeah. Well, we can just touch on the Raiders. I mean, losing to a brand new coach, a team that was struggling, the Colts, a team that had, sat their starting quarterback down, basically on the plan on the season. What was going on in Las Vegas, man?
Well, I'm gonna say this: doesn't he have coaching experience as a former head coach, and he has offensive coordinator experience, among other stuff? And this is his second go round, and it's not looking too well. And we see plenty of coaches. Tell me about the dude in Denver. How well is he doing with all of this coaching acumen that he has, that he is leaned on or whatever? And I'll go to it, and I hate to just go to coaching, but Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was not a great coach his first go round in the NFL. He went to USC, came back, got to Seattle, and all of a sudden he has it rolling now. So it is different for everybody. With Josh McDaniels, man, I don't want to blame everything on the head coach, because ultimately you have guys that are going out in the field and they're playing. But about 2 months ago, we sat here and we were doing a season breakdown. I told you that the Raiders had the best skill positions in that division. Now, Darren Waller has had a hamstring and or whatever, which sounds great after he got his contract. So that's been a bust. Devontae Adams, not as great. Derek Carr has kind of regressed. Jacobs is fine, but it doesn't feel like they have a consistent run game. Like it goes in and out or whatever. And then they're not getting much from their defense. But the Raiders shouldn't be this bad. Like, the Raiders should be better than, and I know they've blown 3 games where they had leads of 17 points or more. The Raiders should be better. And look, I don't know, because say you fire Josh McDaniels, the people that hired Josh McDaniels still gonna be there, right? So they the ones that made that decision. So do you have confidence that they will make good decisions? And you just have to look at some organizations. Like Pittsburgh is down this year, but based on the history, you have to feel like they're going to make some good decisions. Seattle, and going back to your team, and I know everybody is kind of sort of surprised, but outside of last season, hasn't Seattle kind of been a model of consistency? And they, for the most part, have a certain way of doing things and a system, and they try to have a certain culture that, are you really surprised that they haven't success or they figured things out? And with the Raiders, when have they figured things out? Like they're kind of always inconsistent. I would probably, man, I'd probably get rid of the coach now. But like I said, I don't know who you get, but I would get away from him because whatever it is, like I don't know what it is, and I can't really blame him. But the only decision that sticks out to me is the game wasn't against Kansas City where he did the 2-point conversion thing or whatever. That's the only thing that I feel is blatantly atrocious. But maybe like we don't get to see the important stuff. Like we don't get to see the Monday to the Saturday where he's doing the meetings and the preparations and things of that nature. And look, maybe he's just not a grown-up in the room. And that's where Saturday, maybe he's just providing you leadership, structure, and guidance. And some of that stuff right there, keeping you on task, means more than some guy that, yeah, he's an offensive genius, but he can't communicate. He doesn't know how to run meetings. He don't know how to, I guess, maybe bring people in and get them to buy in or whatever. And
or maybe it's a little bit of Derek Carr because Devontae Adams did say that he left one Hall of Fame quarterback to another. Maybe Carr has a little bit to do with this. I don't think he's been terrible, but it doesn't seem like he took, he's taken that next step. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't jumped into that next echelon of quarterback. And maybe that's part of it as well. Now, the Raiders have ran the ball well with Jacobs. I thought they've done pretty well with him from time to time this season. But I still think it's a head scratcher that they lost at home to the Colts. You would think that would have been a layup for them.
Yes. The only defense I'll give Derek Carr is this. He was on the Raiders last year when they made the playoffs after they lost Gruden and had an interim coach. He found a way to play well then. And that's after they lost Ruggs because of his, DUI suspension. Well, I shouldn't say suspension, release from the team. McDaniels and Devontae are the new people to the team. And the team has changed since they became part of the team. So we can look at Carr, but I would probably look at those two guys first and then look at whatever. And I can understand Devontae not wanting to take the heat, but if you look at all of the other places, tell me where the big signings of the wide receivers in Philadelphia, not Minnesota, in Seattle, and in Miami ain't working. It's only not working to me, at least that I can think of, in one place, and that's with the Raiders. And maybe somebody is being exposed as not being as good as what we thought he was when he was in Green Bay.
There's a lot of questions to be answered there. So all Raider fans, let us know what you think. Post some comments this week on the YouTube page. We'll go ahead and jump into what a lot of people may think is the game of the century. If nonetheless, is at least the game of the week. And that was the Minnesota Vikings with the 3-point victory in Buffalo. And speaking of Buffalo, Zach, you informed me, I guess you have part weatherman in your repertoire as well, that there may be up to over 6 feet of snow this weekend, this Sunday, when the Browns head to Buffalo and play the Bills. That's amazing. But what was amazing was the game last Sunday. There was a lot of ebbs and flow in that game. Here's a stat here. I did not know that. Yeah, this will let you know who won the game, besides just showing you the score too. But the Bills haven't scored a second half touchdown since week 6.
That doesn't seem possible. Like I know you put that up there, and I'm sure that's fact checked. That just doesn't seem real, man. Like that I would have never. I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but hey, let's get into the game, Zach. So what we decided to do today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive into this game. So we have a couple of plays here, and then we're going to let our football analyst, the All-22, Zachariah, give some points here. So let's start off with clip number 1. And by the way, each clip is under a minute. So Don't go anywhere. It's less than a minute per clip. Just to give you that
There's a
FYI.
joke there, but
that we're going to run a play here, clear out, run the corner, run the flat right here, and then we're going to work across with a shallow route right here. So, hoping.
that's okay.
Quarter
We
here.
can broke
And Dalvin Cook takes this ball to start the series. One play, 81 yards. The Vikings cut the lead from 27-10 to 27-17. But let's just take a look at some of the blocking that allowed Dalvin to go 81 yards. Let's start with Bradbury in the center and Ezra Cleveland. Watch what they do right here on the combo block. On the nose and up to Milano. He gets a block. Christian Darrisaw turning out A.J. Epinesa. The hole's forming. And there's a safety handle right in the hole for Dalvin. But here comes Justin Jefferson. Perfect fit on the block. Dalvin cuts off it, makes one guy miss, hit the gas pedal, won 81 yards. In one play, the Vikings looked like they were getting blown out 27-10 to getting back into the game.
Okay. First, I want to say that's the reason. We'll just go with it. Look, I hate to say it like that. That's the reason I'm sitting here talking sports with you instead of have played out there, because those guys are on a different level. You can see when they did the double team, the guard came over. I want to say it was a guard, maybe it was a tackle, but I think it was a guard. Came over, did the double team, and then got up to the next level and got to the running back. And then wide receiver Jefferson, who you would think all he wants to do is catch the damn ball, came over, and you can see the hole. Oh, beautiful. And what do they say? Look, I remember a lot of this back when I was a running back with Busby and everything, but he said quite a bit, you're going to block the last guy, meaning you run him over, make him miss or whatever, but it's your job to block the last guy. And Dalvin Cook did it. And that's what those guys can do at that level. One play can turn the tide, and that's exactly what that was beautiful. And the best part about that talk, Mr. 401 is, think about it. That's just your quarterback turning around, handing the ball off. He ain't got to do anything exotic. He ain't got to put it in danger, because Kirk Cousins wasn't having the best of games. We just turn around, hand the ball off, and we get a big play, like not really a big play, a ginormous play to go from being 17 down to being 10 down.
Yep, huge play in the game. All right, here we go with clip number 2.
On Von Miller. They were teammates with the Rams when they won a Super Bowl last year. And Johnny Munt gets a key block right here on Von Miller. And just like that, you get good blocks by Thielen, and Osborne gets the necessary yards to keep the drive alive. Then they were faced with 4th and 6. It's all or nothing for the Vikings. 4th and 6 at their own 49-yard line. That's T.J. Hawkinson just went in motion. And what an addition he's been. He gets lined up. Kirk Cousins got to help him up. Get lined up in a bunch formation right here. And he's going to sit down right in his zone. And just right here, 4th and 6, he runs right to the sticks. And then he's good after the catch. He's big. He's strong. And he pushes to get 12 yards and a first down to keep that drive alive. But let's look at a key block here on this play. Let's watch how the offensive line works. Let's concentrate on Ezra Cleveland right here. He's giving Cousins the signal that it's good to snap the ball. Watch what Ezra does. He helps out, now he comes, and he helps, bam. He knocks down Ed Oliver right here against Bradbury.
And look, Calvin will be loved, but once again, think about it. Those are, and we probably won't get to this, but somebody might say this dumb shit in about a month. If Georgia, say, ends up going 15-0 or whatever, they're like, hey, Georgia could beat what would the score be if Georgia played the worst team in the NFL? About 100-0. Because as you just saw with that, like them grown-ass men, he can't, like Ed Oliver is a for real defensive tackle, defensive lineman, and he got flattened.
Yeah.
But even that, look at that, Hawkinson. Good catch. We once again, we trying to make it a nice, simple throw so we can pick up the yardage. You catch him in zone, which I don't know if maybe you caught him in zone, but they decided to go zone. It's kind of like one of those Tecmo Bowl things back in the day that you call one play, the other team calls another play, and they didn't call what you called, so you get an opportunity to make a play. Not only does he catch the ball, but then, as I said, he's able to get more yards. But think about it. And I would add does Minnesota not have maybe the best skill players in the NFL? Hawkinson is a pretty damn good tight end for at least talent wise. He ain't had the production like that, but he's been very good. Why Detroit traded him to Minnesota within their division, I have no idea. Kirk Cousins, if you kind of look past all this stuff, he's actually above average quarterback. Dalvin Cook is one of the better running backs in the league. Justin Jefferson is definitely one of the best wide receivers. And Thielen is a great number 2. So they can put some stress on your defense. And as you saw there, looks like hell. Looks like the offensive line is pretty damn good too, because Buffalo has a outstanding defensive line.
Absolutely. All right, here's a 30-second clip.
77 yards, faced with 4th and 2. They're going for the jugular here. No field goal. So here's Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie. Let's concentrate on Patrick Peterson at the bottom against McKenzie. The key is right here. He gets McKenzie out of bounds. He's now ineligible. Now Patrick Peterson knows he's free to help. So he jumps right in front of this errant throw to Dawson Knox. Josh Allen never saw him. Never saw him, and Patrick Peterson runs it back 39 yards, setting the offense up at 1st and 10 to 34.
Most important thing that I see on that play is that how he brought up Patrick Peterson knew once that Isaiah McKenzie went out of bounds that he could not be the first person to touch the ball. So I ain't even got to guard you anymore. Now we're playing 11 on 10 football, and he was able to make a play. And that just comes from he's a veteran, high IQ, and that's just a great individual play by him.
Yep, great insight right there to the game and so that's what we're here to do right here. Give you some more insight, more than just the score, more than just hey, that was just a great game. Like there's a lot of things that happen within this game, and it also shows you the intelligence of the level these players, and this is what it takes to play at this kind of level, and how thin the line is to a win and loss. But here we go to another play. We're not done.
Dawson Knox up at the top. How many different corners played right corner for the Vikings in this game? There from the practice squad is Duke Shelton. He's got Dawson Knox man-to-man, no help. One-on-one football. And he defends this ball in the end zone right there. On 1st and 10 at the 20, who set up this play. 2nd and 10 at the 20. And here comes Morris in motion to a 2x2 set. And that's Patrick Peterson talking to Harrison Smith. All right? All the communication. Quarters coverage. And Josh Allen going for the win here to Gabriel Davis. And Patrick Peterson steps right in front of it, inside the end zone, and he would realize he doesn't have to run very far. The Vikings would win in overtime. So many contributions from so many players. 2 interceptions by Peterson, 10 catches by Jefferson, Kirk Cousins with big throws, the offensive line working. It was a team victory, a team comeback win for the ages. Dawson Knox up at the top.
Well, the first thing I want to say is great job by the producers with the the all 22 and kind of looking at it this way instead of just looking at highlights, and you get to see what everybody is doing is great. More to the point, as he was saying there, what he was really saying is complimentary football won the game for them on Sunday. Like you had all of the different phases or all of the different parts of the team working, and they talked about the communication between Patrick Peterson and the safety for the Vikings just to talk about what was going on. And then right after that, interception. That's probably film study, understanding what Josh Allen likes to do in certain situations or what have you, and going from there. And now going on the other end that I brought this up, and we kind of talked about this, and I said this a few weeks back, like some things don't really, like a lot of this football stuff, it don't just really happen. And it's like, oh, I can't believe this stuff. Like some of it, you can see it trending. Buffalo, as I talked about, they turned the football over against Miami when they took an L. They turned the football over against the Jets. They turned like they've been having a thing turned foot, and specifically, it's been Josh Allen. And I think part of the problem is when you blow smoke up these quarterbacks' ass and tell them how great they are, and you give them these big contracts and all the guaranteed money, and they get the commercials, all of that stuff is great. But then how are you coaching them? Are you holding them accountable? And I go back to your cousin, Daniel Jones. He has 2 turnovers this year, only 2. Hasn't fumbled the ball. Or I should say, hasn't lost any fumbles this year. Has 2 interceptions. We know previously he's been a turnover machine, and for him, I think the turning point was Game 1 against the Titans in the 4th quarter. He threw an interception in the end zone when they had a chance to get points on the board, and Brian Daboll lit his ass up in front of the whole team. And to me, what that did is it set the standard of, I don't care who you are, you're going to be held accountable for your actions. You may not need to light Josh Allen up in front of everybody, but how can you correct anybody else on their mistakes if Josh Allen is allowed to go out there? And I want to say this might be 2-3 games in a row now. He's having 2+ turnovers. Like, the Bills may be good, but once again, they ain't the 85 Bears. They ain't the 80 and 90 49ers. They ain't so good that they 3-4 possessions better than everybody. They just give away the ball.
Yeah.
So,
and there were some other things in that game too, like the Vikings were stopped on at the goal line, quarterback sneak. Cousin didn't make it in, and then right after that, Buffalo, the center quarterback snafu, where they fumbled the ball, and then Minnesota recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. That was huge. So, we weren't able to get every single play in, but wanted to get, the key stuff in that we think everyone needs to take a closer look at. And with that said, Zach, because we have about a quarter left in the show, but we still can get this play in, because this is the play that everybody's talking about. This was that great catch. So let's go ahead and show it and give them a little bit of breakdown on it, and then we'll shift gears to the NBA.
They've had all kinds of problems at the corner position. They're going to Diggs, their leading receiver, on this dig route. And Harrison Smith on 3rd and 15 defends this pass, incomplete. Vikings will get the ball back down 27-23. Harrison Smith is pretty darn pumped up about that play on the sidelines. So here comes the Minnesota Vikings now. 4th and 18, down 27-23. That's Justin Jefferson up at the top. And he's going to run this corner route right behind Adam Thielen. And Kirk Cousins throws it up, and the catch of the year right there. One-handed catch. The safety, Lewis, has got 2 hands on it, and Jefferson pulls it away. And look at the reaction of the Vikings sideline right here. They got life. They're all flight support. 4th and 18, let's look at the throw. Good protection. O'Neal, all right, really good. Bradbury, Cleveland, good job right here helping out. And Kirk Cousins gives his star receiver a chance. That's all Justin Jefferson needs. Take a screenshot of it right there.
Wow.
Look, sometimes it's as simple as we go after your quarterback. We don't get to your quarterback. We don't disrupt the pass at all. And then even with that, he threw the ball down the sideline, and a guy just made a great play. Like, he made a play that's why I'm in the NFL. That's why I'm one of the better receivers in the NFL. He made a play that Devontae Adams is saying, hey, Derek Carr, if you throw me the ball like this, I'll make plays like that. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But that's all that is right there.
Man, Zach, great analysis there. Great catch by Jefferson. And I did say we're going to the NBA, but we did have producers let me know that there was something else we had to knock out quickly within probably another 5 minutes or so. But is Dak Prescott, because there's a lot of Cowboy fans out here, Dallas fell short in Green Bay to a struggling Packer team. And Dallas, they're definitely in that race with the Eagles. And man, losing the game there, we need to look at Dak Prescott. Is Dak whack? Let's find out in just a moment here, and find out what some of the analysts were saying about Dak Prescott. And is what's called a tease, ladies and gentlemen. So we will wrap it up with Dak, but quickly with the NBA, Kevin Durant. Okay, Kevin Durant on a rant. He had a lot to say about the state of the Nets. Sounds like he was brutally honest. I mean, he said a couple of things there about a lineup that he's currently a part of, and it's like, hey, how are we going to win with this lineup right here? And so, no disrespect, to the players, Joe Harris, O'Neal, Edmond, Sumner, but he's saying, what do you expect with a lineup like that? This guy's being brutally honest. Also, he brought up some information here that you can take a look at. We'll also post it on our page. But he was just saying that, basically paraphrasing from what I learned from it is, you're not defined by just winning championships. He talks about playing through the injuries, the Achilles, bouncing back, having a successful career that he's had. So Kevin Durant has had a lot to say. I'm certain that we're going to go deeper into that. But just to get that information out about Kevin Durant. And also the Philadelphia 76ers are looking for Kevin Durant. So I'm going to sum it up in 2 sentences. I believe that Kevin Durant is working his way out of Brooklyn at this point. And I believe that the 76ers are the team that he wants to get to next. What about you, Zach?
The first part, I take it differently, that I thought it was a step in the right direction, that he's showing some leadership, saying, hey, this lineup isn't good enough. And at least one of the few times I felt like he was taking some ownership. Then you showed me the next clip where he starts talking about you're not defined by your championships. And I'm like, here we go. Because you know what that's like there, Mr. Foreman? That's like me saying, well, it don't matter if I'm tall or not. It does matter if I'm trying to date females and they want somebody that's tall. So championship, like, you don't get to decide what you define by Kevin Durant. We decide, the public decides, fans, media, whoever decide. So if women want a tall dude and I'm not 6'2", I'm just SOL, as my mama would say. And y'all need to look that up for what it is. Kevin Durant, if you ain't got enough championships and people judging you off championships, that's a whatever. But of course he wants to get out of there. That's just the way things are now. Things go bad, and guys don't have to take accountability, and that's fine.
Yeah, and we'll get deeper into the NBA as the season goes on. Right now, there's a lot of low management going on. There's a lot of teams that's supposed to be up right at the bottom. You even have the Lakers right now. Pelinka being seen at the airport, and looks like he's heading to, if you look right up in there where that arrow is, he's heading to Indianapolis, Indiana, and allegedly. And so it looks like there might be some action there between the Pacers and the Lakers. I heard that there's a race for the big man, Miles Turner, between the Clippers and the Lakers. I don't understand why the Lakers are trying to make this kind of move, but it is what it is. It may be a little pressure from LeBron to try to do the win now, and we'll see what happens there. I think the Lakers should play the long game, but that's what's going on there.
Correct.
On that side of things. But back to Dak, okay? We're going to close things out with Dak Prescott, okay? Is Dak whack? Because, man, how do you blow a game in Green Bay with a struggling Packers? Take a look at this clip.
That we're going to run a play here, clear out, run the corner, run the flat right here, and then we're going to work across with a shallow route right here. So hoping to clear out on the outside, and we're looking to kind of work this flat defender 1 to 2 and then to 3 coming across here. So again, we're coming back. All right, we get this guy to turn. He's out of there. Get this guy to go to the flat. So we're looking at this corner right here. So Dak looks like he's ready to throw it. All right, and then as he comes out, just the hesitation, and then here's the thing that kind of got me when I was watching it, is that I thought for sure this ball had to be tipped because of where it went. So we'll watch it again from the back. And, okay, so he's uncomfortable. And then look where this ball goes.
Off target, Zach. One more clip, and then I'll let you close out the show.
To be completed to the shot. Like, that's not, I don't know if this was maybe just a throwaway or just a miss or what happened there, but got to be aggressive, stick that foot in the ground, let that thing go. You've got an option, but more importantly, you got to look at it. Like, that's not even set because he takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He takes 7, and he's ready to take a hitch there. You got no chance. From the 15 to hit a skinny post with 7 and a hitch. Come back. It's got to be a 5-step drop. Number 5, hit your foot. Let that thing go if you like it, and then get to your read, okay? So it gets to his read. We get a carry over there. Gets down to his check down. No problem. I can live with the end read part of it, but I want to see him understand big picture and be ready for these opportunities down there because they don't come very often, and you got to be ready to sling it and be aggressive.
The floor is yours, Zach.
This is what frustrates me when you pay these guys. Like Kurt Warner said it perfectly. And Kurt Warner definitely knows more about being a quarterback than I do. But like you said, 5th step, not 7th step. You're paying this dude $40 million for a reason. But here we go, something that we talked about previously. What I said I was concerned about with the Cowboys when they brought Dak back is, would they play differently? Now, I can't necessarily say they're playing differently, but it does seem like they're being more aggressive in the passing game. And I think keep this game plan vanilla, kind of like the Washington Commanders did, kind of like you did with Cooper Rush, and let your defense take you home. You were up, what were they up, 17 points?
Yeah, man.
You can't lose that game. And you just can't. And Dak was a big part of them losing that game. But let's take him, forget that he's a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Forget that he makes all the money. Like, if we were taking quarterbacks in the NFL, how many quarterbacks will we take before we get to Dak? I mean, he's a serviceable, maybe better than average quarterback. But once you start having to pay him more money, I guess here goes the easy thing. Who would you rather have, Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts?
Oh, you're asking me? I'd
Yes,
rather
sir.
have Hurts. I have Hurts.
Me too. And that shouldn't be a question. Like Dak, I mean, I hate to say it's a big loss because it's in the middle of your season, but that's a tough loss.
And look, especially on the with the Eagles losing the next night, that was an opportunity to gain a game. Plus, you play them again, so blown opportunity there for Dallas, man. So as you can see there, ladies and gentlemen, Dakota Prescott, like other quarterbacks, but he has a lot more work to do, and so we have to be honest out here, man. And there's some things that, as you stated, Zach, he is the quarterback. They pay him to be the man. And
Yep.
so a lot of that predicates off of that. The receivers, as you can see on that play there with the skinny post, receiver broke, ready for the touchdown.
I mean, honestly,
That's a touchdown.
it's a great play call. Like,
Yeah, that was a touchdown.
You could see everything it was supposed to do. They were giving you the options. You just had to execute.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see what happens.
And one more thing in that game, Aaron Rodgers finally looked like Aaron Rodgers. He stopped sulking, stopped feeling sorry for himself, and kind of like we talking about, you get paid all that damn money, go out there and make guys better. And even Watson, he dropped some passes, and Aaron Rodgers kept going at him, and the young man had a good game. Now, the young man ain't without fault, but Aaron Rodgers, stop whining and complaining. We paying you $50 million.
Yep. That's what happens. I mean, you can't pay everybody. And again, I'm glad you mentioned that he kept going back to Watson, because if you go back to the comeback that Tampa Bay had at home versus the Rams, there was some drops by receivers all night in Tampa, but Brady kept going back, and eventually it paid off. So hey, you just got to do it. And this is not to just say picking on certain players and things like that. It's just bringing things to people's attention, so you have more detail next time you watch the game. So we're trying to help you out.
Absolutely, because as it goes, Josh Allen gets, well, not just Josh Allen. These quarterbacks get hero worship. And if you want, you can go all of these players. But then the mistakes that they make during the game, they always get glossed over. Like Russell, and maybe we'll have the Russell Wilson segment at some point. But Russell Wilson, you making a lot of money. You gave all this noise. You want to cook. Go do what you were paid to do.
Yeah, we'll see. Just don't do it against Seattle. All right.
Well, I think he's got about 4 years for that, unless he makes it to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And right now,
the likelihood is very small, Zach.
Right now.
Very small chance. But yeah, man.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna say, any closing comments before we roll out?
No, I was gonna say the way Wilson is going, I'm closer to being with his wife than he is to make it to the Super Bowl. So he needs to fix that. He needs to fix that.
All right. The statement of the day.
And we know I'm far away from being with Sierra.
Yeah. Good luck with that. All right, man. Great show today. Appreciate you. Breaking down the film, Zach. All right. Zach 22. Even though when your jersey number 29 though? That was your number?
It was.
Okay. All right. Maybe on another episode. Let everybody know what the 29 was for on our next episode.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Well, he's Zach. I'm Mr. 401. We thank you all for watching, listening. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, share the episodes. Do all that for us. We thank you. And we thank those who already do so. All right. Catch us on the next episode. Sportz Brothas out.
Have a good one.